New anti-fraud technology is being brought in to try and crack down on fraudsters misusing the blue badge disabled parking system. From Sunday, the old-style handwritten badges will be phased out and replaced by electronically printed versions.
Well, like driving licences, they'll have unique holograms, digital photos and serial numbers. The Department for Transport says there'll also be a better record of who has blue badges.
Join us now, Paul Slowey, a blue badge fraud investigator, and Lisa Egan, who is a disabled driver herself. Very good morning to both of you. Lisa, let's start with you. You've been a victim of theft. These are badges stolen from your car.
Yeah, I've had my car broken into twice and my blue badge stolen, and there was a third incident where my car was broken into, but they didn't actually get the badge because it was after I'd gotten an anti-theft device.
Well, it's kind of locked.
Yeah, it locks my blue badge down to my steering wheel.
Okay.
It's astonishing to think that you even have to lock your badge down. I had no idea that these badges were even stolen, but Paul, you're saying it's a real problem.
Yes, it is. I mean, the DFT figures are that 12,500 were stolen or lost last year, and we estimate that that's about 10% of all misuse. So the majority are friends and family using valid badges. But yes, there is a problem of people targeting disabled people's cars and stealing badges, selling them, and there is a market in stolen badges. So yes, they are being used.
So if you say the majority of the fraud is it with the consent of the people who have the blue badges?
It could be with the consent, but if it is with the consent, it's mistaken consent. The person has to be with the vehicle. You have to be picking up or dropping off the disabled person. Somebody's grandson or granddaughter can't use Granny's badge.
But that would imply that changes in the way it's printed and done actually wouldn't make much difference to that. That kind of fraud might still continue. Is that your fear?
That's absolutely right. The new badge and the new database will have no impact on the misuse of badges, and it will have very little impact on the use of stolen badges or the market for stolen badges.
So why is it being changed?
Well, I think a database is useful, but in isolation is of no use. It's for fraud officers to actually go out and start to use that data and start to actually tackle the fraud. The DFT figures from last year are that out of that 12,500 badges, 189 prosecutions resulted across the whole country, which is pretty poor.
So, Lisa, do you think it's going to get any better? I mean, do you think these changes will make any difference?
No, the blue badge already has the holder's photograph on it. And until I get out of my car, I'm not particularly obviously impaired. So when I pull into a blue badge parking space, traffic wardens around can't immediately tell that I'm disabled. And, you know, I've been driving since I was a teenager, had a blue badge all that time, and I have never, ever been asked to show the photograph on the reverse to prove that the badge belongs to me.
And would you mind if people checked on your blue badge?
I would object if members of the public asked, because, you know, being quite young and a disabled person, I already get members of the public tutting and rolling their eyes at me when I pull into a disabled parking space. But I would not object at all to having a traffic warden or, you know, in like supermarket car parks, private security firms, I would not object to them asking to see the photograph.
So what then would you like to see to stop the fraud in the system? Because obviously it has a direct impact on you.
Oh yeah, I mean, if people couldn't get away with using stolen badges, they wouldn't keep breaking into my car. And it's a really traumatic thing. And, you know, when you have to go to your local authority to get a badge reissued, they treat you like you're a criminal rather than a victim. And, you know, I think that the redesign of the badge is quite unnecessary. Like Paul, you know, a better way to tackle the problem would be if local authorities and private security firms, you know, operating on private property, if they actually enforced the system that there currently is.
And is that doable, Paul?
Yes, about 10% of local authorities now enforce the system. With a new database, hopefully that will spur other authorities into actually starting to enforce the scheme. It's literally not been enforced. And that's why you've got a market for stolen badges, and that's why you've got such high levels of misuse.
And Lisa, you were saying about some of the attitudes people have to you. Is part of the problem, and we're doing the story today, is part of the problem that this kind of sends out the message that whenever there's a blue badge on a car, people are thinking, oh, I wonder if it really, you know, I wonder if they really are using it and they are deserving of it? Do you get that kind of attitude?
Well, at the moment, there's a kind of a big issue around deserving in the public consciousness anyway, around things like welfare reform. But, you know, I think for me, the problem is because of my age, there's this real social perception that you have to be old to be disabled. You know, I've had a blue badge since I was 5. You know, I've had my impairment all my life. Kind of, we need to change people's attitudes towards disability more broadly, I think.
Paul, Lisa, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Both very much.
Thank you.